Using a camera to log your driving in the event of an accident, or even if you're taking your car onto the track for some spirited driving, is an increasingly popular pastime. Having camera footage of your time on the track is a great way of sharing your performance. On the flip side, having footage of a non-fault accident can prove invaluable. Simply put, camera footage in either of these scenarios could be a great way of sharing or analysing your track day performance. Alternatively, it might even make the difference in a serious road accident related court case. Welcome to IFTI's Tech Corner, where today we are taking a look at the RoadHawk HD. The RoadHawk HD here is RoadHawk's flagship model, and it takes the concept of an in-car black box to another level. In simple terms, the RoadHawk HD records audio and video. Where things get clever is by adding GPS functionality. Now that enables the speed and location of your car to be logged all along the recorded route too. But things don't end here. As if that wasn't enough, RoadHawk have also thrown in a G-force sensor, so you can view your G-forces along your entire route. The upshot of all this is that you can record and later review journeys in forensic detail. You can either play them back alongside a Google Map display of the car's location, so you not only see a recorded video and hear the audio, but you get your position on a map at the same time. Just imagine how valuable this information would be in the event of an accident, for example. Let's start by getting stuck in and having a look at what's inside the box. So within the actual box itself, we first have a user manual, and then we have the actual unit itself here. If I just remove this from the packaging, there we go, there's the actual camera unit itself. We'll take a closer look at that in just a second. If I remove this packaging from the top here, we have the actual software CD and another box within, and this should contain all of our accessories. So we've got the power cable, and that plugs into your standard cigarette lighter socket. We have some adhesive mounts, and these are used to run the power cable along the outside of your windscreen. We have a small SD card reader here, so a standard USB SD card reader. We have an external GPS receiver and two windscreen mounts. These are adhesive windscreen mounts used to mount the actual RoadHawk HD unit to the windscreen. The unit itself is rather smaller than I had expected, which is great because it makes hiding it in your vehicle even easier. It feels solid in the hand and very well constructed, with a soft, rubbery textured feel rather than a tough plastic. The RoadHawk HD sits this way up, as we can see from the orientation of the logo on the front of the unit. At the top we have a standard 1/4 inch tripod mount, which can be used with certain mounts and clamps on the racetrack, for example. The mount attachment point we would use on a daily basis is here. It's a simple sliding mechanism. Now you receive two of the mounts within the box that come with a tough adhesive. Once you stick this onto your windscreen, it isn't coming off in a hurry. As an optional extra, users are also able to use a RoadHawk suction cup mount, which comes with the same ball joint mechanism as the adhesive mounts. Great for those who do not drive the same vehicle on a regular basis and want to move their RoadHawk unit around with them. The underside of the unit is free from any buttons or functions and incorporates venting holes for the microphone, a small chiming speaker, and for heat dissipation. This side of the unit is also free from any functions, while the opposite side has various inputs for attaching an external microphone, great for those who want to use this on the track and capture engine noise, a power input, along with the external GPS receiver input. Now the rear of the RoadHawk HD is where you would have the most interaction. We have an SD card slot under this flap here. We'll look at compatible cards in just a moment, along with the one button on the entire device labelled E. When pressed, this will manually save an event. Basically, it will lock that section of the video so that it's not overwritten. Again, we'll look at this in more detail later on in the video. Finally, we have two LED indicators here. The first indicator shows whether the unit is recording. Most of the time, this will light red to show the unit is actually recording. When the E button is pressed, or when the internal G-force sensor senses a sudden movement, such as an accident or sudden braking, for example, this recording LED indicator will flash to indicate that an event is being saved. This way you can tell what the unit is doing with a simple glance. The final LED will light green to indicate the unit has an active GPS lock. If the light is not on, it means you have no GPS lock, so no GPS data is being saved. In some vehicles that have heated front windscreens or special anti-glare coating, it may be harder to find a GPS signal, but this isn't an issue since you can simply use the external GPS receiver instead, which comes with a handy 5-meter cable. The system itself houses a powerful A5S processor capable of recording extremely high-quality 1080p video along with a 5 GHz GPS receiver with ultra-fast lock-on time. It's also the first in-car camera on the market fitted with full electronic image stabilisation to give you the smoothest video even on the roughest of road surfaces. The package itself is pretty comprehensive and includes everything needed to get the device up and running, along with the options of the external antenna, for example, for vehicles that struggle with GPS reception. We'll come to this later in the video. For now, let's get the system installed. Since suction mounts are not always permitted on a racetrack, for example, the RoadHawk HD camera is supplied with an adhesive windscreen mount as well as housing a 1/4-inch camera mount for use with roll bar clamps. The suction mount gives the added flexibility of making the unit more portable overall, since it gives you the option to move and mount the unit between different vehicles with ease, although I personally find the adhesive mounts much more secure. Compact and fairly discreet, the ideal mounting position for the RoadHawk HD is probably behind the main rear view mirror. Although the power comes from a standard cigarette lighter adapter, you can also hardwire it into the car's power circuit to cut down on the cables and make it a neater installation overall. For the purposes of testing, I'll just be plugging directly into the lighter socket, but for those using the unit on a more permanent basis, I'd highly recommend hardwiring to the vehicle's power circuit. As we highlighted earlier, for vehicles that struggle with GPS reception, RoadHawk have also included an external GPS antenna in the box. You can use it for even faster lock-on times, usually less than 30 seconds from cold start, and for greater GPS accuracy. The antenna itself has a magnetic back and it's completely waterproof, so it simply sits on your vehicle's body pretty securely. Once mounted, you need to take some simple steps to set the unit up with your desired settings before we can actually start using the system. When the camera is first switched on, it looks for a settings file on the SD card called configuration.txt. If it finds the file, it checks for and loads any changes in settings. If it doesn't find this file, it will create one with default settings. To do this, you need to insert the memory card into the unit and power the unit up by switching on your car electrics. The RoadHawk HD gives us spoken confirmation that the unit is on and recording.
RoadHawk camera is on.
As stated, if the SD card is completely empty, the unit readies it by creating the configuration file, which we can then customize with the included software application. Talking of software, let's take a quick look. The software itself can be installed on either the Windows or the Mac platforms. It's very straightforward and simple to use and does its job both effectively and efficiently. The installation itself is very simple and takes literally seconds. Although we received the install disk with the unit, it's best to download the latest version directly from the RoadHawk website. We then need to insert the SD card into the computer using either a built-in SD card slot on your system or using the included USB SD card reader. We then run the software. We'll take a more detailed look at the different features of this software later in the video, but for now let's go ahead and take a look at the settings we need to change in order to configure the configuration text file and set up our RoadHawk HD unit. We simply click this settings button here, and this opens the settings menu. Here we can really customize how the camera behaves and change settings to a pretty decent depth. Let's take a closer look. Now we start here with the resolution settings. We can change the resolution to either 1080p or 720p. Now the image quality is obviously going to be sharper at 1080p, although it will use up more memory per hour of video. Now this also brings us onto the frame rate. At 1080p, we are limited to recording at 30 frames per second, which still gives us smooth, good quality footage. Although if I select 720p here, we can see we've got the option of 60 frames per second as well as 30. 60 frames per second gives us much smoother video at higher speeds. So for example, for use on a standard residential road, 1080p at 30 frames per second will be fine. Although if you're looking to use this on a racetrack where you'll be doing much higher speeds, you'll get smoother video choosing 720p at 60 frames per second. Next we have our time zone here. You need to be accurate with this, as setting your time zone affects how quickly the unit will lock onto a GPS signal. The unit also retrieves its current time from a GPS satellite, and the time will be set according to the time zone chosen here. Now the file length, which is the next option here, has several options within. Once a file length has been reached by the camera, it will automatically record the next file segment. Bear in mind though, if the file length is set to more than 1 minute, the camera will not operate in loop mode, meaning when the SD card is full, it won't start over from the beginning and overwrite the older files. So we'll set our unit for 1 minute and leave loop mode on. Next we have the bit rate. This sets the amount of compression used in your recordings. At the highest quality settings, the camera will end up using around 6 to 8 gigabytes of data per hour, whereas a lower setting will allow you to store more on your card. Feel free to play around with these settings to get one that suits you best. For example, you may want to go for a higher setting if you have a larger capacity SD card. I'll leave mine on the lowest for the moment. Next, we can set the sensitivity of the microphone. Setting it to off will completely mute the mic and the camera won't record any audio whatsoever. Under this, we have the same slider for the speaker volume. Now, if you simply want to record video only, select normal here. Whereas if you want to create video and event files, when the unit's G-force sensor detects an impact, we select event plus normal. Bear in mind, because this reorganizes the way data is stored on the card, it will need to delete all current data on the card before the setting can be changed. Finally, we can change the event sensitivity here. Generally, having the G-force sensor set at low sensitivity is good enough to capture the events that you really need. I guess it all depends on the types of roads you're on or the type of car you're driving. Setting this to high may generate some false events, such as when you go over a pothole, for example. So it's best to play about with the various settings until you've found the sweet spot. Okay, so now that we've changed the setting, we hit the Submit button here to confirm the changes and update the configuration file. After the setup, we simply insert the card back into the RoadHawk HD. The unit will read the configuration settings file from the card and will set itself up accordingly. A nice, simple and efficient way to set up your unit. The RoadHawk HD's safety aspect is covered by automatically recording when the car is started. As stated earlier, it gives a spoken confirmation when the unit is powered on,
RoadHawk camera is on.
and when it locks onto a GPS signal.
GPS signal detected.
So we know we are set and ready to go. It records in a constant loop of several hours on the included 8GB memory card, although this can be increased by using a higher capacity card. Video files are stored on an SDXC card, so large capacity cards currently up to 64GB can be used. You can rest assured that everything in front of the camera is constantly being recorded, even on those longer journeys. However, it also has another important feature, the ability to protect data when the G-force sensor detects an accident or impact, or being able to manually protect a clip of data by pressing the E button on the rear of the unit. So, in the event of an accident, if the G-force sensor detects a sudden movement, like hitting an object for example, it will protect that section of the video. This protected file will not be overwritten, giving you plenty of time to move it to your computer. Demonstrating this is a bit difficult, but I'll brake hard here to simulate an accident or something running in front of me, for example.
Detected event.
And we just heard the audio prompt telling us that an event has been saved, and I can see the recording light on the rear of the unit blinking, so I know an event has been saved. We'll check this later. You can also manually protect footage that the G-force sensor may not pick up. This is handy when there is no impact or the G-force sensor has not been triggered off. If you are witness to an incident, for example, and you wish to protect that footage, you can also simply press the well-placed large event button, labelled E, on the rear, and this will save the clip manually instead. I'll press the E button at this point,
Detected event.
and again we can hear that an event has been saved, and again we have a blinking recording light to indicate it's saving the file. Now that we understand what the device does and some of its features, let's take a look at playing back the video. All videos are saved in the MP4 file format, where it stores all GPS and G-force sensor data inside the actual files. This is where the RoadHawk software comes in, as it decodes them for your viewing and playback with all of the GPS and G-force sensor data. However, it's important to note that you can still view the files without the RoadHawk software in most standard media players, since the video is recorded in the standard MP4 format, which can be opened by Windows Media Player, VLC Player, or QuickTime, for example. Although recorded footage will be viewable on just about any modern PC or Mac computer in this way, you won't have access to speed and location data without using the supplied software. The GPS and G-force data is stored within the video file itself and can be viewed using the provided viewing software. So here we have the software interface we used to set up our RoadHawk HD earlier. You will see the vehicle's speed, G-force and position overlaid onto Google Maps, updating 5 times every second. Now I've inserted the SD card into my computer already, and we can see the list of recorded files in this panel here. Before we look at those, we've already taken a look at the settings button here, but just to note, next to this is a load file button. This is for files you've previously backed up and are no longer on the SD card. Clicking this button brings up the standard open file dialog box, where you can browse to a file you wish to open. Beneath this we have our main list of files with 3 buttons here labelled Event, Normal and All. If we click the Events button, we see all events created by the camera's G-force sensor, as well as those created manually. Clicking the Normal button shows us all the clips that have been recorded during our normal everyday driving. Finally, the All button shows both normal and event clips all together. We can click any one of these files here to start playback in the window here. We have a scrubbing bar, a timer, volume controls, and a button here to enter full screen mode. We also have a play and pause button here. Just below this we have the vehicle's current speed in miles per hour. Simply click on this to change it to kilometers per hour and vice versa. To the right of this we have our G-force display. The small red spot in the meter represents the G-force experienced at any particular point in the video. So as the vehicle accelerates, you would expect to see the spot move towards the bottom of the meter. Braking will show the spot moving upwards on the meter, and turning left or right would show the spot moving either way to the sides. The heavier the maneuver, the further the spot will be from the center of the meter. Finally, we have a Google map in this corner here. Now, if you had no GPS signal at the time, or if your computer has no internet connection, you may not see this map. This map shows the location of the vehicle at any point in the recording. As the recording is playing, you will see the map move alongside the video, showing exactly where the vehicle is traveling. Just like standard Google Maps, you can use the zoom buttons here to zoom in and out of the map, as well as switch between the standard map and satellite views. Overall, the software is quite basic, but shows us everything we need to know about a recorded clip in almost forensic detail. You can see the obvious benefits of this and how it would be extremely informative to an insurance company or as an analysis aid for track day racers. Looking at the recorded video itself, the HD sensor used in the RoadHawk HD not only gives pretty sharp and colourful daytime images, but also performs pretty well overnight, with the help of streetlights and your vehicle headlights, of course. Overall, we can see it's easily usable as evidential footage, as well as for general recreational use. The RoadHawk HD is a great small device that could save your bacon when involved in an accident, as this is your permanent witness, backed up with GPS data, G-force data, date and timestamp, and Google Maps outlay. It's not a surprise this is welcomed by large insurance companies and also large fleet companies who want to reduce their costs. Achieving the best setup for the RoadHawk HD does require some wiring, but it works pretty well just sticking it onto the screen and plugging it into the lighter socket as well. Once you're up and running, the auto record and accident features mean you can leave it to do its thing and basically forget about it. This is critical, as you can be sure that one time you really needed to have it running is the one time you'd forgotten to set your camera to record. Some improvements I'd like to see on the next version of this device include a button to turn the built-in mic on and off, and a dial to adjust the speaker volume. Although we can set these via the software, having these functions on the unit make it much easier to change and adjust them to suit your mood, rather than having to remove the card and fire up the software to simply adjust the speaker volume. You can get black box apps for phones, of course, but although the RoadHawk HD is not the cheapest solution at £270, it is a more permanent solution that can be hardwired for constant power supply, and do everything without you ever needing to even think about it. All told, it's a great way to protect yourself on the road, though it's worth pointing out that it will record your own bad driving just as efficiently as everybody else's. But then again, maybe the knowledge that it's all being recorded will encourage you to behave a little better behind the wheel. Please feel free to like this video, it really does help me out. Don't forget to subscribe though, as you'll automatically be entered into my 2013 monthly giveaway. Click the logo above for more details. See you soon on IFTY's Tech Corner.